if we were just talking about it from mainstream media headlines.
Yeah. In a supporting operation, I think what gives the Chinese even more credibility on their Moscow, Ukraine initiative is what they pulled off with Saudi Arabia and Iran. And it's more than just diplomacy. I mean, first of all, let's just talk about geopolitics here. They have turned the crisis of conflict, or the crescent of conflict, the crescent of chaos, which is what exists right now from Lebanon down to Yemen and all in between, is this Shia Sunni, unrest that's fueled by the regional competition between Iran on the one hand and Saudi Arabia on the other. They've turned this into a crescent of cooperation, potentially. I mean, imagine a situation where Hezbollah will sit down now and negotiate in a realistic fashion with the Christians and the Sunnis of Lebanon who are backed by the Saudis, because the Saudis are now saying, before where we told you no deal, now we're telling you deal, make a deal. And China is talking about, what does China get out of this? Well, we'll get into that in a second, but first of all, China's opening up, Belts and Roads Initiative type penetration into the Middle East on a major way. The United States, with our genius, far-reaching, looking afar foreign policy, are sanctioning the hell out of everybody. Hell, we won't even allow aid to go to Syria after the earthquake because we're such, bad word, I won't say it, but we're that. And the same thing with Lebanon, the suffering that's taking place. We have this, the Caesar Act in place, I believe, and so we're sanctioning Lebanon, so we can't help their economy grow and all that stuff. The Chinese are like, we don't do sanctions. But what we don't do also is go into a place where you guys are killing one another. We don't like that either. So we'd like you to sit down, make peace, and then we're going to come in and we're going to make you all look good by helping you build this thing up. And I think that the Chinese are doing it. So you're looking at the potential. I mean, my God, can we bring it into that the war in Yemen? Could you imagine this time next year not having to turn on TV or the internet and see the pictures of the starving children? Could you imagine that? I'm far away from that. And I get teary-eyed going, yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be great. But imagine being the mother of a Yemen, of a child saying, my child can actually get nutrition, wake up in the morning without bombing, and go to school and get an education. That's what this peace agreement, this normalization relations creates. But here's the big deal, because the Chinese, as much as they like peace, they're not really big kumbaya people. They don't necessarily want to come together and get everybody to hold hands from Lebanon down to Yemen and sing kumbaya and it's wonderful and everything like that. No, the Chinese are business people. They're about business. And what they've just done with this, because who applied to join BRICS, that economic forum that's competing with the G7? Because this is some of the biggest news out there. I know some people disagree with me, but I think this is a big deal. Iran applied. They're probably going to be brought in. And now who said, we want to join BRICS too? Saudi Arabia. Now, that doesn't work if Saudi Arabia and Iran are going to war with each other, because BRICS isn't about bringing in people who want to fight. BRICS is about bringing about stability. That's why BRICS is so important between India and China, because you can't have these two guys going at it. They need to be cooperating. And it's working. It's tough because the Indian and Chinese relationship is a tough relationship. But because of now a shared economic interest, again, James Carville, it's the economy stupid, applies globally, not just in the United States. So the Chinese, what do they need to make their economy rumble? Energy. They need energy. And who's got energy? Well, the Iranians have it. The Saudis have it. And guess what happens when you take two of the world's largest oil producers and you create stability in another large oil producer, Iraq? Suddenly the Chinese are going, we got leverage all over the place here, guys. And now the United States and Europe going, well, wait a minute, Saudi Arabia was our energy accelerator, decelerator. When we needed, cheap gas, they produced a lot. When we needed to raise the prices, to help American producers, they would lower it. The Chinese were our boys. They did what we wanted. I'm not Chinese, the Saudis. The Saudis are like, we ain't playing that game anymore. You guys stabbed us in the back. You don't treat us right. We're going to the Chinese because there is no moral code to deal with the Chinese. They don't have some artificial, you got to do X, Y, and Z. The Chinese are like, you're Saudi Arabia, you guys figure it out. We prefer you to do it in a pleasant way. But if your gig is to go out and execute 20 people on a weekend, swing the sword, baby. We don't care. All we care about is that we get access to that oil, and we get access into your country, so our Chinese, construction teams can come in and build highways and great infrastructure and all this kind of stuff, and then you benefit. That's a Chinese approach, and they are locking it up. If you take a look at the International Monetary Fund's World Economic Outlook that was published in October. I know 5 months ago. I know, come on, Scott, got to have current data. Well, sometimes data, it's pretty cool if you reevaluate data. I mean, imagine if all you did when you looked at the World Bank's or the IMF's World Economic Outlook was to look at just pure GDP. You're doing a GDP analysis. And so you're focused on that. And right now, the West still looks pretty good because they've artificially hyped up their GDP numbers. And when you compare the lesser GDP numbers of Russia and all those countries, the G7 is looking pretty strong and BRICS is looking, But what if we went to PPP, the parity numbers, converting GDP into what it actually means in terms of buying power, purchasing power? Wow, something really big happens. BRICS has a larger share of the global economy than the G7. And that doesn't include Iran and Saudi Arabia. Imagine how you throw them in. Argentina wants to join, Egypt wants to join, Turkey wants to join here. BRICS suddenly is exploding with this, the kind of economic potential that is needed to create what Russia and China talked about. You mentioned it back at the Olympics, Trans-Eurasian Economic Union. Now in the West, everybody's going, what? How do you spell that? Well, you better learn, guys, because it's real and it's going to be the engine that drives the global economy in the next century. Trans-Eurasian Economic Union. Ask yourself why Iran is suddenly not so worried about the JCPOA. Why would Iran want to get the JCPOA? So sanctions can be lifted. So what? So they can do business with Europe. They can do business with the West. The allure of that's gone. What Iran's doing now is saying, wait a minute, you mean we had these neighbors over here? Oh, hey, Turkmenistan, how you doing? Uzbekistan, how you guys doing down there? Want us to come over and play? Yeah, we'll go play. And so Iran's now moving into this undeveloped Eurasian hinterland, working with the Chinese, who they just did a peace treaty with the Saudis. And the Saudis are backing up because they got a lot of money. So you get Saudi investment, Iranian know-how, Chinese investment. And next thing you know, this thing's clicking. And America and Europe are sitting there going, what happened? What happened? I thought we were the world leaders. It's not this is like, you're doing the Indianapolis 500 race and you think you're in the lead. And you pull in for a pit stop and you come out and you're 20 laps behind and they ain't going to pit anymore, because they're gone. You lost that race, man. And that's what's happened here. That's what the importance of this is. Nobody's looking at PPP ratios. There's a nice boutique analytical group, Acorn, MC. They looked at it, but the big people out there, they're not looking at it. They're working on GDP. It ain't GDP that's going to make this new multipolarity work. What makes the new multipolarity work are numbers that have meaning across the board, not numbers that have meaning only in isolation. And so, your PPP calculations are everything. And hats off to Acorn, MC. You guys did a good job. Richard, nod to you. He's the analyst who did it, so I'm calling him out, give him full credit. But this is what the world is today. And so now we have China doing this. So now understand what we're saying. Now I just painted this picture where China is pretty much single-handedly redefined the world. Single-handedly redefined the world in a way that China is sort of the world leader. And they didn't have to invade anybody. They didn't have to bully anybody. They didn't have to sanction anybody. They were just the Chinese out there going, hey, deal. Wham. Redefine the whole world. I don't think I'm going to say it one more time because I want people to understand this Iranian Saudi Arabia deal is a big deal. This is one of the biggest deals. The world has been redefined, reimagined. It ain't what it was yesterday, guys. It ain't a European center. Europe ain't the garden. I know Burrell said it was the garden. Europe is the pathetic, weed-infested, cesspool of whatever it is. It ain't the garden anymore. All right? The garden is in Trans-Eurasia. That's the new garden. Yeah, they may not have, European, tulips out of Amsterdam, but they certainly got date trees. They got a whole bunch of other cool stuff that has that Eurasian feel to it. And that's the way the world's going to be ticking there. Not off of Europe anymore. Definitely not off the United States. Doesn't mean they go away. They don't go away. But it doesn't mean they're calling the shots anymore. And that's the thing. So now, with that, now let's reevaluate China going to Moscow. Because now this isn't just an act in isolation. This is China coming in, having redefined the entire world. So now when China does its backseat diplomacy with the Europeans and the Americans, they're not just saying, hey, getting this peace deal done with Ukraine is the best thing for Europe. They're sitting there saying, this may be the only thing that can keep you economically viable in the newly redefined world. Do you really want to marry yourselves to a war that's just going to bankrupt you more, suck away more of your resources that you're going to lose? Or you want to get out of this and get your act together so you can come in and plug into what we're doing over here, which is pretty damn exciting. And we'd like you to be a part of it. See, we're not anti-American. I know you're anti-Chinese, but we're not anti-American. We want you to be a part of this miracle because you got stuff we don't have. You got some great industry. You got wonderful technology. We need you plugged in over here, America. Europe, you too. We need you too. But we can't have you be part of this as long as you're doing that in Ukraine. We're giving you an opportunity to end this war, to bring this thing to a close, and then to get your house in order. Come on over, man. There's a lot of pie out here. We can cut this thing up any way you guys want it. Well, China gets a big piece, but but my point is that's what China has to offer. They're not. I don't think most Americans understand the role China plays today. They're, again, they're like me. I'm typical. Can't pronounce the Chinese leader's name, because I'm pretty stupid. But that's okay. At least I try. Most Americans, they don't have a clue. China to them is the made in China on the electronics they plug in at Christmas. I got a new Xbox. I don't even know what they're up to. Xbox 5. Who knows? I got this, my iPhone. Oh, made in China. Yeah, good. Chinese iPhones. We know China that way, but we don't respect them. We don't respect them for what they've accomplished. Hey, America, we got 300 plus million people, 340 million people. That's a big population. Right? Do you know that the Chinese every 5 years have raised up 300 million Chinese out of poverty in the middle class? Every 5 years, China has created an America, taken an America out of poverty and turned it into a middle class. In America, a nation of 340 million people, we don't have 340 million people in the middle class. The middle class is shrinking. The underclass is expanding. The rich are getting richer. But in China, they actually have gone in and this has been going on for like 20 years. Every 5 years, 300 million people, boom, 300 million people, boom. Has it been perfect? Nope, not at all. And that, a lot of people out there go, yeah, but they built cities that never got occupied. Now they got to blow them up. Okay, yeah. And they still took 300 million people out of poverty every 5 years, which means they have now a middle class that is easily 3-4 times the size of America. And if you say that the middle class is the engine of a modern economy, especially a consumer-driven economy, understand that the Chinese engine is bigger than ours. So wake up, America. And then when was the last time the United States had a diplomatic, victory? I mean, of this scope and scale. I mean, Camp David Accords never worked. Never worked. I mean, Barack Obama, He didn't do anything. He got the Nobel Peace Prize just for being black, I guess. And I'm not racist. I'm just making an obvious statement here that he didn't do a damn thing and he got the Nobel Peace Prize. Now we got a yellow man out there doing stuff that's changing the world for the better. And I hope to God that the Nobel Prize Committee stops giving away this award for political purposes to publishers who hate Russia and people who hate this and hate that. And why don't you give it to a man that's actually making the world a better place to live? The Chinese president. He deserves this. The guy is and I know he's an autocrat. He's a dictator. I don't know. What would you be if you had a nation of over 1 billion people who one mistake and they all starved to death? But keep that in mind. The margin of error is not there. You have a bad harvest, people die. So you got to go out there and secure food supplies. You got to secure energy supplies. And I don't know, maybe go to Shanghai and get on a train and go someplace in China and tell me how that ride was. How you enjoyed that one, and then come back and
it's amazing.
Go to JFK and get on the train and come in and get on the subway and hope you don't get killed by the concrete coming down or mugged or whatever. So America, we have to start waking up to the fact that we're not doing it the best anymore. There was one time when we were, and we have a lot to offer, but there's people out there doing it better. Russia, Vladimir Putin, the worst president in the world. He doesn't care about the Russian people. Why did he just build a new subway ring around Moscow? And if you go and look at it, it's like, oh my God, type beautiful kind of stuff. We got to do better, but we can't do better if we're going to be plugged into this war in Ukraine, sucking our resources dry, and dividing the world. And China's given us an opportunity to rectify a lot of the errors that we've made in the past. I hope we have political leaders that are smart enough to take advantage of it.